Hi, I'm Karen. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing a new to me tag from a few years ago before my YouTube days. The tag is Tarot to the Extreme and it was created by the lovely Marlene Teresa. A couple of weeks ago, Lisa Pepez's video response from 3 years ago popped up on my feed. Since then, I've watched a lot of other VRs as well as Marlene's original video. This was such a popular tag and it's such a fun one. I wanted to bring it back for anyone else who missed it the first time around. Let's get started. The first category is Minimalist versus Maximalist. This is my choice for Minimalist. This is the White Sage Tarot by Teresa Hutch. This is a little tarot in a tin pocket-sized deck, and it's my only pips deck. But the pips have a little swirl of ribbon running through the card, and the color corresponds to a chakra. So this is the heart chakra. And I think that's just a nice little touch that she added to the deck. Another little layer. Most of the majors have animals. And then very little extra art around the card. Is on the minors, the pip and the ribbon, and that's pretty much it. And then on the majors, just a simple image. There's a lot of spaciousness to the deck because of the simplicity of the art, and I really enjoy that. I think it's, especially for a pocket-sized deck, a nice touch. And this is a good reader. So this is my choice for Minimalist, White Sage Tarot. Then for Maximalist, this is Shadowscapes Tarot by Stephanie Law. The artwork is beautiful, but there is a lot going on here. It's really hard to take this all in a tarot card. I've heard people say that they wish the cards were bigger, and I can understand what they mean because it is tough with so much intricate detail to see everything and to understand what's going on in the card. Even so, it is beautiful and it is a good reader. I do wish that either the cards were bigger or there was a little less detail to the image. But I love this deck and it is not going anywhere. But it is my choice for Maximalist. So let's see them side by side. Here's the Minimalist and the Maximalist. I think that's a pretty good representation right there of the difference. Okay, next category is daytime versus nighttime. I had a little bit of trouble choosing in this category because I don't have any decks that are really daytime. All of my decks have a few dark cards. I don't have anything that's purely bright and sunny all the way through. So I kind of went with the feeling. I feel like this deck is daytime. This is the Tarot Landscapes by Francesca Mattioni with art by Yoshi Mari. And the images all have an animal and a landscape. It is tarot landscapes. And the feel of this deck, because the landscapes are so expansive, feels like daytime to me. Even the dark ones have some color or some brightness to them. It's a beautiful deck. It's a gentle deck. And I feel like it's a daytime deck. Even the dark cards. My nighttime choice was really easy. This is the Midnight Magic Tarot by Sarah Richard. Besides the fact that it has midnight in the title of the deck, this is a mushroom deck. Mushrooms love darkness. All of these cards have a dark background. Some of them have stars or the moon in the background. But it definitely feels like a nighttime deck. I got this deck as part of a deck study in Lisa Pepez's membership. And I really wasn't that interested in the deck before that. But I've learned so much about mushrooms, and I have a deeper appreciation for mushrooms since I got this deck. So I'm so glad I did the deck study and got this deck. And this is my nighttime deck. Let's see. Let's put them side by side. Daytime and nighttime. Right there, you can see even this nighttime card compared to this nighttime card. You kind of see why this is my daytime deck. This is my nighttime deck. The next category is Best Shuffle versus Worst Shuffle. For Best Shuffle, this is the Sassy Dragons Tarot by Peggy Pepez and Lisa Pepez. This deck is the Sassy Dragons Not Safe for Work version. I have also the classic version, but I really could have chose anything by Lisa for this category because she uses that same beautiful cardstock for all of her decks. This is 330 GSM German black core linen embossed cardstock. And I know that because Lisa talks a lot about cardstock on her channel. And I've become educated on cardstock through her. She is a self-professed cardstock nerd. And that's why her decks have such a beautiful shuffle. Best cardstock, best shuffle, Sassy Dragons, or anything from Lisa Pepez. Okay, worst cardstock. This is Angel Wisdom Tarot by Radley Valentine. This is Hay House cardstock. Some of their cardstock is not that bad, but this one is. It's a chunky deck. It's a big deck. This is a typical tarot size card. And this is this card. The cardstock is stiff. I've got another deck, another tarot deck on this cardstock from Hay House, but the cards are smaller. I can't even get my hands comfortably around this deck, and then there's no way I can shuffle it. It just kind of falls. But nevertheless, I use this deck every day. I work daily with Angel Energy, and I pull a card from this deck for that. The deck itself I love. It's just this cardstock is horrendous. Okay, so Best Shuffle. Sassy Dragons. And Worst Shuffle. Angel Wisdom. If I can even get it in my hands. Yeah. Usually I just kind of mush it around. Okay, the next category is confronting versus comforting. For confronting, this is the Witch Sisters Tarot by Julia Jeffrey. For me, this card feels very raw, visceral, deep, and confronting. I've had some readings with this deck that were unlike any other readings I'd had with any other deck. I love, for one thing, in this deck, there are a lot of old faces. And as an older woman, I can appreciate that. But I feel like all of the faces have such raw beauty. And they bring out a lot of emotion for me. I do have Scottish background. Not background, ancestry. Scottish ancestry. Never been to Scotland, but I have ancestors from Scotland. And so that also makes me feel tied to this deck in a way. We bonded right away from the very first reading. But she's confronting. That's for sure. Okay, then on to my comforting deck. This is from Lisa Pepez. This is the Unicorn's Journey Tarot. Something I've learned about myself since I started collecting tarot decks is I love storybook decks. I would have never guessed that about myself before I started reading tarot. But a lot of the decks in my collection have a bit of a storybook feel to them. This deck, especially, this is a storybook deck. There's even a little storybook that you can get to go along with it. This is the story of Mystic the Unicorn. Yes, he does not have a horn there yet because he hasn't realized he's a unicorn yet. And that's kind of what this story is. It's his self-worth path. And that's the name of a book that Lisa has written, The Self-Worth Path. This deck tells the story of Mystic discovering who he is, finding his path. And I love that. The art is beautiful. The story is so gentle and calm and comforting. You get to see all the friends that Mystic makes along the way to becoming the unicorn that he is. So it's a great deck. It's very, very comforting. Unicorn's Journey Tarot compared to Witch Sisters Tarot. Very different vibes, but I love both of these decks. The next category is everyday versus every so often. For my everyday deck, I chose Good Fortune Tarot by Barbara Moore with art by Jessica Rue. I chose this as my everyday deck because I feel like I could read with this deck for anyone with any question. I am a fairly new reader, And I sometimes get tripped up if the message is not clear in the card. But I feel like every image in this card makes it clear what the card means. And I also feel like it would not be offensive to anyone or confusing to anyone, regardless of what their question is, including me. When I've read for myself with different questions and in different moods, it's always come through crystal clear for me. And I think that's what you need for an everyday reader. I don't read with this deck every day. I don't read with anything every day, with the exception of my specialty decks, I consider them, like my Angel Wisdom decks that I work with a specific part of my practice. Other than that, I don't use any deck every day, but this is one that I could, especially if I were reading for a lot of people, I would definitely carry this one with me all the time. If I was a professional reader, this would be in my rotation to read with. For the Every So Often deck, I chose Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Turian. This is a beautiful deck, as every Anna Turian deck is. But this is just an every so often reader for me for a couple of reasons. For one thing, it's my only black and white deck. I love the images in this deck. They're gorgeous. But I miss color. I feel like color adds an extra layer to my readings, to my interpretations of the cards, and I feel like something's missing with no color. The other reason I don't consider this an everyday deck, it's an every so often deck, is because of the way this deck makes me feel. I bought this deck because I was looking for a shadow deck. This doesn't work as a shadow deck for me necessarily, but it definitely brings out all of the feels. This deck makes me feel this aching, haunting, introspective feel. And I'm not always in the mood for that. That's not what I'm always looking for in a reading. If I am in the mood for that, if I'm feeling like I need something with almost a romantic, that kind of Wuthering Heights kind of romance feel to it. Not something I'm usually after in a reading, but if I am, this is my deck. Okay, every day versus every so often. This is how they look. I think it's kind of obvious that the feel of each deck is very different. They both have a place. This one is every day. This one is every once in a while. The next category is overrated versus underrated. Now, I know a lot of people struggled with this one, and I did too. We love our decks. If we didn't, the deck would not be in our collection. So it's hard to call a deck a negative term like overrated when it's in your collection. But you have to kind of think of what that means. It gets too much hype. It's overdone. It's over talked about. It may be a wonderful deck. It may deserve all the accolades, but there's a lot of beautiful decks, and there's a lot of decks that don't get enough attention, so it's kind of hard to see a deck getting too much press time. This deck is one that I love by a creator that I love, but this deck is overrated in my opinion because of just the amount of attention it gets. This is the Light Seers Tarot. And I can see why it gets so much attention. Objectively, it's a beautiful deck. It's so relatable. It's, especially if you're into color, it has a lot of feeling in it. It's got that kind of festival vibe. It's something that if you're new to tarot, it can appeal to you. And yet at the same time, it has a lot of depth. I love the deck. I just do feel like it's overrated. This is not even my favorite Chris Ann deck, which brings me to Underrated. This is also by Chris Ann. And this is one of my very favorite, if not my favorite deck. This is the Muse Tarot. And I feel like this deck is underrated. I rarely hear anyone mention this deck. If I do hear it mentioned, I get so excited. All of the muses, the muse is the king in these, are turned sideways. I know that bothers some people, but it doesn't bother me at all. She's renamed the suits. The swords are the voices. The pentacles are the materials. I love this deck. It's so beautiful. I could just, this is eye candy to me with the colors and the images. The cups are the emotions. And then the wands are inspiration. Every card in this deck, it's so empowering and so inspiring, and it's my muse. I agree. The Muse Tarot is a perfect name for it. If I'm feeling stagnant or flat or just blah, this deck never fails to pull me out of that. I've heard people talk about what deck would they want to live in. I want to live in this deck. I think it's so beautiful. I love all of the clothing. I want all of the clothing from this deck. I love all the landscapes. I could just talk about this deck all day. And I definitely think it's underrated because I rarely hear anybody else talking about it. And she deserves all the love as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so we've got two Chris Anns, Overrated and Underrated. Light Seers and the Muse. You can tell if you know Chris Ann's artwork. She's a digital artist. You can tell somewhat that these decks were created by the same artist. There's just something extra that this deck has for me that's special. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe you need to be a little more mainstream to have like the overhyped decks. But come on, isn't that gorgeous? Okay, I could spend all day on this deck. Let's move on to the next prompt. This is the last prompt. This is light work versus shadow work. It's another one I kind of struggled with a little bit. The terms sometimes throw me. Light work, I wasn't really sure what that meant. Shadow work, I know what that means, but I have struggled to find a shadow deck. But then Marlene, in her video, used the terms conscious and unconscious, and that made it easier for me to make a choice. This deck, I very consciously understand and love. This is the Magical Nature Tarot by Marjorie Morgan. I adore this deck. This is one of the newer decks in my collection, and I just love everything about it. The artwork is so beautiful and empowering and affirmative feeling. I love the way the deck was created. She used plant pigments and metals to make these beautiful images. It's on Eco Herbage cardstock, which is a wonderful cardstock and is sustainably made. And there's a bunch of other ecological aspects to this deck. There's a digital guidebook, and she goes into a lot more detail about how the deck was created and the intention that she put into it. Oh, and these cards smell so good. It's just very thoughtfully put together, inspirational, encouraging. It reads really well. So this is my light work deck. Then finally, my shadow work deck. And I chose this deck. This is the Mindscapes Tarot by John A. Rice. I chose this deck because it is Mindscapes to me. I can get lost in these images. I stop and I think about what's going on, and I dig into the meaning. I spend a lot of time losing myself in that imagery and trying to pull out what it means for me. And I always feel surprised by what comes up in this deck for me. The emotions it pulls out of me, the thoughts that it pulls out of me. And I don't know if that qualifies as a shadow work deck, but I definitely think it qualifies as a deck that works on my unconscious. So this is the Mindscapes Tarot. We've got light work and shadow work. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video and this tag, and if you have a YouTube channel, I hope you'll consider making your own Tarot to the Extreme VR to Marlene. This is an older tag, but I'd love to see it make its rounds again. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.